Hi, my name is Shivam, and in this video we are going to set up a Flutter desktop environment in Windows, Linux and macOS, and we'll make our first project using VS Code. So let's start with Mac environment. Go to the Flutter site and download the Flutter SDK for the Mac environment. So here I will choose the Mac environment. Download the zip file and extract to your desired location. After extracting, we have to set the Flutter path as an environment variable so we can work on the project. So path will be the path till bin directory. Open the terminal and set the path using export path and mention the path of the bin folder within the Flutter SDK folder. Type Flutter Doctor to check whether the Flutter is properly working or not. If Flutter version is showing, that means it's correct. So our Flutter environment is ready. With this, you can make applications for Android and iOS apps. To work on the Flutter project, we need an IDE. So we are going to install VS Code. So VS Code is a cross-platform application and you can work with many programming languages within the VS Code. Go to the official VS Code site and download the Mac application. After the app is downloaded, move this app to the Applications folder. Now you can launch the VS Code from here. So the application is launched. Now to work with the Flutter project, we have to install a Flutter extension in the VS Code to make it compatible with the Flutter project. For that, go to the extension option, search Flutter there and install it. I have already installed the extension. Now when you will install this Flutter extension, it will automatically install Dart extension for you. After installation is complete, restart the VS Code. Now we have to switch the Flutter SDK to the master channel. Type Flutter channel master because by default Flutter is in a stable channel and desktop support is within the master channel of Flutter SDK. Upgrade the Flutter using Flutter upgrade. So till now, whatever we have worked with the Flutter SDK, you can make Android and iOS apps. To work on the desktop app, we have to enable a configuration within the SDK. So type flutter config macOS desktop. So our next task is to create a Flutter project and run a macOS application. Here I am going to make a new folder. In this folder, I am going to create all the project related files. Open that folder in VS Code. Now to create a new project, type flutter create dot. So all the project files will be created here, supporting all the platforms like Android, iOS and macOS. Now there is a lib folder. In that there is a main.dart file. That's our application. By default there is already a counter application. we will run and test that application. So here is a Mac folder which is required for the Mac application development. So all the native features will be mentioned here, while the other features like UIs and the other Dart features will be mentioned in the lib folder, that is in the main.file. In the same manner, there is Android and iOS folder, so that lib folder can work with the Android and iOS apps. So the final task is to run the application, type flutter run, so the application will be built and launched according to the macOS. If you have many devices connected to the device, so you have to type flutter run -d macOS. So you can tell the flutter to target the specific device and the application will run according to that environment. So our application is launched. This is a basic app, a counter app which is created by default by the Flutter. Now we are going to make some changes in the application, that is in the main.dot file, and the changes will be reflected in the application. In desktop development, hot reload and hot restart feature is available, but there might be some issues in the desktop app. Now we will try to change the app theme color. And then press R for hot reload in the terminal. So the changes are shown here. So in this similar manner, you can make changes in the lib.dart file and you can create beautiful UI and add more features in it. So for starting, you can make a news app which uses a REST API to show news on the application. Then you can make a Mac application and share with your friends. So the app currently launched is in the development mode, that is in the debug version. To share the app with the other users, we have to make a release version of it. So to make a production level application with the project, you have to run the command flutter build macOS. So our release version of application is ready. Go to the build folder, macOS, release folder. There you will find the Mac executable file that you can share with your friends to use it. Now next we are going to set up same thing in the Windows environment. Now go to the Flutter official site and download the Flutter SDK for the Windows environment. So download the latest zip and extract the content to your desired location. So after you extract the content, we have to set an environment variable for the Flutter. So copy the directory path till the bin variable and put the path in the environment variable of the system. So here go to the user variable, edit the path variable. Now you can add your path here. In my system there is already a path, Flutter bin. You can add your own path in the end of this line. So to check whether the Flutter is working in the system or not, open the command prompt and type flutter doctor. Now here if the Flutter version is showing, that means Flutter is properly set up. To work on the project we need an IDE. So we are going to use the VS Code as an IDE. So go to the official site of the VS Code and download the Windows installer. So follow the installer's instructions and install the application. VS Code can be used to work on the many projects with different programming languages. For the Flutter project, we need to install an extension in it. Since by default Flutter SDK in the stable channel and the Flutter desktop is supported in the master channel of the Flutter SDK, so we have to switch the channel. So to do that, you have to type Flutter channel master. And then upgrade the Flutter. To work with the Flutter project in the VS Code, we have to install the Flutter extension in the VS Code. So for that, go to the extension and search for the Flutter. From here you can install the Flutter extension. So when you install this extension, it will install a Dart extension also automatically for you. Now to work with the Flutter desktop, we need to enable a configuration in the Flutter SDK. So to enable that configuration, type flutter config enable Windows desktop. So when you create a new application, there will be a Windows folder also along with Android and iOS with some native codes in it. So you can build application for the Windows environment. Here you will type flutter doctor-v so you can know if any requirement is left for the Flutter desktop part. So you can see the Flutter version is mentioned here and the VS Code. So this environment is ready to work with the Android and iOS app. Here it is mentioned Visual Studio that is required by the Windows environment for the Windows application made by Flutter. So now we have to install Visual Studio 2019 and install the components as shown here. So go to the Visual Studio official site and download the community version. So in my system, the Visual Studio is already installed. So I will rerun the setup for you. Remember, you have to install the same components of the Visual Studio as shown in your Flutter Doctor. So here we have to download desktop development with C++ and other libraries along with it. Go to the individual components and search for MS-Build. Select this component. After that, search Windows 10 SDK. I will install this version because in my Flutter Doctor this version is showing. You have to install that version that is showing on your Flutter Doctor-v. So after the Visual Studio installation, I am creating a new folder. All the projects file will be created here. Now we will create a project in it. So to create a project, type flutter create dot. So now a project is created. There is a lib folder that contains the Flutter code and then there is a Windows folder that contains the native code for the Windows application. Here it is mentioned the Windows tools and APIs are not stable. That is, during the development you can expect some issues and crashes. Now we need to run this project. To run this project, type flutter run -d windows. -d windows means it's the target device. That means the environment for which the application needs to be built. So that's why we mentioned the Windows. Our first Flutter desktop app is launched. This is the basic project, a counter app. Now we will make some changes in the app. Here we are going to change the theme color of the app and then press R to hot reload the changes. So the changes are reflected here. It may be possible during hot reload you may face some issue because Windows desktop development is not stable yet. So you might face some issues and crashes during hot reload and hot restart. Now to make a release version, type flutter build windows. Since Windows desktop development is not stable yet, it will not make a release version. Instead, it will return you a debug version of the application. To find the application, go to the build folder. And this exe file is our application. And here is the first basic app. As you can see, there are other files also along with the exe file. These are necessary to run the application. If you delete these files or do not export these files, the application will not run. Now you can make some changes in this starter application and make a new application of your own. So our next environment is Linux. Again, go to the Flutter site, download the Linux version of Flutter SDK and extract to your desired location. I have extracted the content in this folder. So we have to mention the part of the bin directory as an environment variable. So for that, open the terminal. Here type export path and the full path of the bin directory. Then type Flutter Doctor to check the Flutter version. Again, we are going to use the VS Code as an IDE in Linux. Here I am going to download the application for Ubuntu. Install this application. So as we have worked previously with the Windows, in the Linux also we require some extra tools to work with the Linux desktop application. Now open the VS Code. So to work with the Flutter project, we have to install a Flutter extension also in the VS Code. After installation, restart the VS Code. To work with the Flutter desktop app, we have to change the Flutter SDK channel to the master branch. For that, type Flutter channel master. After this, update the Flutter using Flutter upgrade. Here it's showing a message to install the tool curl. The instructions are already given here. You can follow the instruction given here. Now try again to upgrade the Flutter. Now we have to enable the config of Flutter desktop in the Flutter SDK. For that, type flutter config enable Linux desktop. Now we are ready to create a new project. Go to your project directory and type flutter create to create a new project. So some error is showing regarding Android toolchain. You have to install this extra tool also and then try to create a project again. Our new project is ready. You can see there is a lib folder for the Flutter code and then there is a Linux folder for the native Linux code. To run this application, type flutter run -d Linux. -d is used to target the environment, that is Android, iOS or Windows or Chrome. So our counter application is launched. This also supports hot restart and hot reload, but Linux APIs are still unstable in Flutter, so you might some face issues during hot reload. Now we are making some changes. Here I am changing the theme color. Press R for hot reload. And changes are reflected here. Now in similar manner you can make changes and make an application for all the environments, that is Android, iOS, Windows, desktop and Chrome, and share with your friends. Now we are making a release version. For that, type flutter build Linux. Again, this is not a stable version, so this will return you a debug version as a release version. So to find the application, go to build, and this is our Linux application. So the overall conclusion is, you can make a Flutter desktop app only for the practice purpose. Since the APIs are not still stable for the desktop environment, it is not recommended for the production level. You can add Flutter UI and Dart code, but there are still many native features are missing because of the less plugins in the Flutter desktop. Full blog link of this video is given in the description. If you like this video, like, subscribe and share.